Prepare to dive into the heart of India's startup revolution. Witness visionary entrepreneurs and changemakers drive the next wave of innovation and success at the Moneycontrol Startup Conclave 2024.
It is indeed impossible to have a conversation on quick commerce, these days without mentioning Zepto. How did this startup, which by the way raised over $660 million this year, manage to give every other quick commerce player a run for their money? Please welcome on stage our first moderator for the day, A91 Partners, VT Bhardwaj, an investor who lives, eats and breathes commerce. And joining him on stage, I want to welcome Zepto co-founder and CEO, 23-year-old Aadit Palicha, who, by the way, is in the process of relocating from Mumbai to Bengaluru.
How does it feel to have proven so many naysayers wrong? You know, all the people who said couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't. Even today, I think I saw an article somewhere where someone says, oh, the economics are so hard to make it work. So how does it feel to have proven so many people wrong?
You know, journey of Zepto has always had one theme of skepticism, right? It started when we were, getting the ball rolling, and when, Suvir from Nexus gave us the first institutional round of funding. Most people that we spoke to at the time, most candidates that we tried to hire, most landlords that we tried to get dark stores from, didn't even believe the model was logistically possible. You can't even deliver in 10 minutes if you wanted to, or any timeline that was slower than an hour or faster than an hour, right? And so initially there was like, is this even logistically possible? Second, as we started scaling, I would say in 2022, most people had the question of who even wants 10-minute delivery, right? And what the thought process was. And then obviously as it got scale and there was phenomenal retention and customer love, the third question was, how is this business model going to make money? And now we're in a position where the only reason why we were able to raise the financing that we did is because we were able to prove out the economics and turn the vast majority of our stores free cash flow positive. But I still think, though, candidly speaking, that there's a tremendous amount of proving yet to be done, right? I mean, I think our stated ambition is to try to build, hopefully, a truly world-class internet company out of India that can be benchmarked to the Meituans or the Pinduoduos or the Coupangs of the world or the Mercado Libres of the world or the Airbnbs of the world, these sort of $60, $70 billion plus highly profitable public internet companies. And that hasn't really been done in India, with maybe one or two relatively small exceptions. And I think to be able to get there, and that's the only option for us. I don't think we can, afford to be happy at what we're doing. I don't think we'll be able to survive unless we really go for a large outcome. I still think that there's, quite a lot of proving left to do. And so, it very much feels like the beginning of the journey of, with still a lot more naysayers left to prove wrong than at the end. So, in a nutshell, although it feels like, we've gotten quite a bit of success today, for me, I'm still in a position where I feel like an early stage startup founder where there are still lots of risks, lots of things that we need to nail. And I think that's true across, the entire industry right now.
What is that one winning formula? That's what we're here to explore, is offline, the new online. Please welcome on stage Axel partner Anand Daniel, and joining the conversation with Anand is the founder of Curefoods, Ankit Nagori, Vivek Gupta, who's changing the way India orders and consumes its meat through Licious, and Ishendra Agarwal, who's made gifting jewelry more affordable and is giving legacy companies a run for their money thanks to Jiva. There's Abhishek Chakravarti as well, DTDC Express.
I'll start with you, Ankit. So talk to us about how you think about omnichannel, and then, because, yeah.
Yeah, so Anand, I think if I look at the last 10 to 15 years of India, a lot of demand generation in newer categories, newer segments happen online. And online became a great way of figuring out where the demand pockets exist, where do the deep demand densities exist. And that made it very easy for people to launch new platforms, new brands, new segments. As the commerce in the country is progressing, a lot of tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities are coming into play. And at least for the local commerce or low radius commerce, there isn't enough density for orders to be only online in nature. A small city with a 5 lakh population, still affluent, would still love to go out and order or go out and experience the product as opposed to ordering in completely. And having a dark store there may not even give the right unit economics, because for dark stores you need very high density. So our strategy has been similar. When we were young and we were trying to build the brands, we took the same approach of building online first demand channels, and that gave us very good indication of where do the demand densities exist, where do the customers live. And in the deepest demand densities, we also opened offline stores. So that was our omni-channel strategy for tier 1 and metros. But for tier 2 and beyond, we are looking at an offline first strategy.
How do people discover? Do they start online, go offline? And when did you feel you have to start doing offline? Like, just help us think through the behind the scenes.
What we have realized is online is a very key part for us to reach out to the customers, right? Because everyone is connected digitally. They look for fashion trends online. They look for reels online. They invest most of their time online as well. So that becomes a very key part for us from a customer discovery perspective. But when it comes to purchase, what we realized is online is not enough. So a lot of people, for example, come to our stores where they've added their products on their mobile app in their wish list, but they just want to try it before they want to buy the product.
So they have something, come and show me this. And
exactly. So and that is, where improving on customer experience becomes a very key part for us in the entire omni-channel journey.
What's the importance of offline? Because online, we all get it. Like, we want to order, get the meat.
See, meat was always bought and sold offline, right? Consumers have this behavior of touch and feel. They want to get their own cut. Specifically in fish, they want to interact with the whole fish before it get cut as per their style. So over now 7-8 years, what we have seen is chicken, mutton have actually scaled a lot in online. But fish penetration is not as far as what the market salience look like. For example, I'll give you Bangalore. So Bangalore total meat consumption, 50% is fish. Okay, but in online, the penetration is around 28. Okay, so that was one aspiration. And second, while we originally started online because of, high capex and offline, etc. Bangalore, we opened around 17 distribution centers, which covers whole Bangalore in 90 minutes. And if I had to do, let's say, offline first, I would have at least needed closer to 70, 80 stores. So online was, obvious choice 7 years ago. And today, to go deep in Bangalore, I think offline will do the job. In our case, there is another thing, that whole supply chain, our processing center, our whole distribution network is already built. So the way we are eyeing offline is just optimizing and building more efficiency on the same supply chain. Bangalore consumes around $1 billion of meat, and we have 5% penetration in Bangalore. So with more offline brand building stores, etc., if we can double, triple this over the next 5 years, then I think offline will make the model much more profitable for online and offline. Yeah, and whatever stores we have opened recently, roughly 70% of consumers who walk in the store today are new, which have never interacted with online. So far, it's actually panning out in a very unique way. And maybe to Abhishek, you have seen across multiple brands. Maybe just give a flavor for what are the kinds of brands you work with, and how do they think about omnichannel, and how does DTDC help them?
I think, Anand, the best way I could answer that is giving a little bit of context from how we've seen the business of omnichannel evolve. And of course, I think the watershed moment was COVID. In our case, for example, before COVID, probably 95% of our business was purely physical, and there was no need to really focus on the online in terms of offering an omni-channel experience. But come COVID, and you realize that a business which was entirely physical, there was no way in which consumers were going to be able to come to you, right? And that's when we realized we created our own online platform, our own application. Today, the MyDTDC application has more than 3.5 million active users. And we've realized that what started off as a C2C application, where we thought that individual consumers who would not want to come into a DTDC physical outlet and send shipments, over the last 4 years with the D2C and social commerce revolution that's happening, what we've realized is one of our biggest customer categories that uses the online model is social commerce sellers, could be housewives and ladies from their home who are selling products, who need an accessible tool. They want to start and have the transaction online, but they still would need access to a physical network. And I think the network aspect is the critical piece which I'm seeing brands and us having more conversations, because there are lots of upcoming D2C and younger startups who realize that while they have their online piece working well in the big 8 or 20 cities, when they want to explore the tier 2 markets, they want the product to be available for people to touch and feel. So we're now working with 2 use cases. One, we're working with brands that are using our 16,500 or at least a segment of those as forward stocking locations, that they want to keep the product available, and when an order comes in or if a consumer wants to try and see the product before they make the purchase, they can actually do that by walking into our stores. And indeed, we're also having use cases where some brands want to keep their samplers with us in our stores and say, try and buy, look at the product. If you like it, you can complete the transaction.
Ixigo is all about the founder's conviction in their idea, the resilience to see it through and weather every crisis and survive. To take this conversation forward, we have Shailesh Lakhani, Managing Director, Peak 15 Partners, who's one of Ixigo's biggest supporters. Please welcome him on stage, along with Ixigo co-founder and group CEO, Aloke Bajpai and Shailesh Lakhani, everyone.
Up until 2022, the company had raised less than 100 CR in its life. But you are operating in a super competitive category, and it's always been that way. So how did you compete in such a category that where others had raised multiple of that, and sometimes 10 or 20 times that? And how did Ixigo survive that?
One thing we realized early was that it's okay to track competition, but you shouldn't get super obsessed about competition. You should be obsessed about the customer. And if you're obsessed about the customer, you will figure out earlier than others where the puck is moving to next. And that's what the game is all about, right? It's not about being super big at what's working right now. It's about being super big at what will work in the next few years. Focus on what matters, which is day in and out, are we improving our customer experience? Are we building things that people want? There is no reason why you will not succeed if you're able to just identify the trends out there. If you're reading enough, if you're following what your consumers want in a market where even today, I don't think most of you would know this, only 4% of Indians fly, right? So if you're an OTA building for flights and hotels, you're probably targeting 4% of Indians. And this realization came to us in 12-13 that, if we have to win travel, we have to win trains, we have to win buses, we have to win budget hotels. That's Bharat, that's the real India. We're not going to build for the western part of India, right, which is people in this room probably. It's not enough, right, to build for that. We will build for you, but I think the core driver for growth for most verticals in the next 10 years is going to come from the India I'm talking about, which has just come online, which thanks to Jio, thanks to UPI, has just started transacting. That's where all the growth will come from.
Is the funding winter over for Indian startups? Are Indian markets more receptive to new age stocks? Hear it from the two veterans from the world of investing, Sanjay Nair of Sorin Investments and Prashant Prakash of Axel, in conversation with Chandra and Bodhisattva.
There have been 2 recent cases where startup companies have faced regulatory headwinds. One was I'm referring to Paytm, which could have perhaps become the Alipay of India. It faced a major regulatory action. There is also another company in the edtech sector, which was India's most valuable startup at one time. What are the learnings? What are the big picture? What are the takeaways? What should startups learn?
To just cut to the chase, in that growth journey, I think they've had a bit of hubris that comes into the founder. I know it all. I know what I'm doing. Don't challenge me. Don't question me. So I think that's one. And you sort of stop listening. You hear, but you don't listen to what people are telling you. I think that's one. And the second one is, I think the ecosystem around them doesn't want to give them bad news, doesn't want to question them. As investors, we got to make sure that we are able to be open up with our founders and vice versa. So I think that's been a huge issue, and one or two of them have had repeated feedback and have yet turned a blind eye to it. I'm not commenting on governance and other issues, just the psychological issues of what goes on in the mind as you become, bigger and more successful. I think is two very tricky qualities that you have to look out for.
I would just add a couple things, right? One is you need to be clear before you IPO. Is your central business model at that level of maturity and product fit that you can clearly see a path to scaling that, rather than discovering new models as you go along? You can't go public with that kind of a mindset. I mean, I'm just being blunt here on some things, right? The second thing is you got to be careful on acquisitions. What acquisitions you make, and are those acquisitions leading to a coherence in your business model, or is it distracting you in your business model? I think that's the second big thing. I think the third big lesson in my mind is don't market ahead of your product.
Our next session is on the modern workplace and how next-gen offices are shaping up. I request Chandra Shrikant to come back on stage to take this conversation ahead. And joining her on stage is Rishi Das, co-founder IndieCube, a co-working space venture founded nearly a decade ago right here in Bengaluru.
Where will the next wave of growth for you come from? Will it be IT, GCC, startups, some of these older enterprises that you said, right? Mahindra Logistics, Ultratech, who you wouldn't normally associate with a co-working space?
Yeah. So I think, Chandra, this is more cyclic. If startups were calling the shots till the funding winter started, they are on a low certainly. Indian companies are on a high. Because I'm talking about the typical old economy Indian companies, because the Indian economy is doing well and these companies are on a ramp-up phase. GCC certainly are doing very well. IT services is doing well. Equally, you can say broadly it's a 25% each mix. Startups, GCCs, Indian IT services companies and the Indian companies. These four brackets, if we look at, maybe sometime they may become 30%, sometime may become 20%. So it's quite democratized now. And then there is a city pivot as well. If you go to Bombay, obviously the Indian companies will have a very large pivot. When you come to a place like Bangalore, startups have a much larger share in that.
Thank you very much, Rishi.
Thank you.
Very good insights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Is there a license that PhonePe does not have? But what's next for PhonePe? What is the underlying theme that will unify all its business interests? Hear it directly from its co-founder and CEO, Sameer Nigam, at the Moneycontrol Startup Conclave. Chandra, please welcome aboard with Sameer for that engaging session.
Sameer, if I look at how PhonePe has evolved, right? I mean, you have a 50% share in UPI payments today, but that's not the only thing you're doing. You now are a house of apps. So you have PhonePe, which has, payments, bill payments, UPI, insurance, gold, and so on. Then you have Share Market, which is your entry into stock broking. And then you have PIN Code, where you are doing things on ONDC, which is your commerce play. Did you ever think about, should I have everything on the same app, like a super app, like the way it is in China or Southeast Asia?
Very early on, we decided that we're not going to try and build a super app. I think this idea of a super app, a lot of discussion around that in 2019, 2021. The only super app that I've seen globally that really works is WeChat. I think in India, people want different apps for each category in their life. I think that we compartmentalize. So if it's food tech today, it's largely a Swiggy and a Zomato. If it's cabs, it'll be an Ola and an Uber and a Namayatri and so on. So I think that compartmentalization is pretty natural to us as Indians. So you got to play it on merit. That's one. Second, I just don't think we could, on PhonePe, our primary focus is to make sure we minimize the time it takes for you to make a payment and leave. The average session on PhonePe is about 7 seconds. We strive to make sure that you open the app, you make the payment you came in for, and you leave. So we're not trying to upsell or cross-sell as a habit. So of all the categories we've entered, there are only two that we've kept on PhonePe, which are perfect adjacencies. One is personal loans, which we recently launched. The other was in insurance. Mutual funds, again, it's basically SIPs. The minute we got into IPOs and broking and stuff, it went to share market. Minute we talked about e-commerce, which is a much deeper engagement. You're searching for product, you're browsing product, you're comparing price. It had to go into a PIN code app. So all of these apps are connected only by one thing, which is the login using PhonePe, because we have tight risk and fraud checks, the KYC properly. That's about the only benefit. Otherwise, if you come to, if you come to the corporate office, all these companies are incubating in different buildings. As of last summer, we restructured the organization. There's a different CEO for each of these companies now. They're separate companies. So instead of thinking of a house of apps, we call ourselves the PhonePe group of companies.
On that note, Sameer, thank you very much for talking to us at the Moneycontrol Startup Conclave, and here's wishing you the best.
Thank you. Thanks, Chandra.
Thank you.
How is AI changing the game for Adobe and helping startups? To talk about this, please welcome the session moderator, Debangana Ghosh, on stage with Adobe's Ajay Joseph, who's Head of Sales Channel and SMB Digital Media, India and South Asia.
What kind of an opportunity are you seeing for Adobe's enterprise GenAI solutions in India? If you could share some numbers around maybe the demand and adoption that you are seeing in the country.
The estimate, right, is that the GenAI market itself will be about a $17 billion market by 2027. But the big rub on this, right, which we think is where the big impact is that it's forecasted to add about, between $350 billion to $450 billion to the GDP, right, by 2030, right? Now, and that's predominantly a productivity story. It's predominantly the ability to serve your customers better, the ability to get you to start monetizing your product much quicker, get you to be able to get insights from documents, from being able to look for ways and means in which you can actually generate more value for your customers, right? So if you can do that, I think that's the big rub of what generative technologies will start to show for organizations. And of course, the fact is that a large part of this momentum we're also benefiting from, and we're definitely seeing a big uptick in the way customers are adopting our technologies and showing interest.